Recording now. Hold on. Hey, Greg, we're on.
Hello, hi, I'm Greg Claghorn. Welcome to this episode of what are we doing? Three Black Frat Grads. That's right. We're both. I'm here. My name is Greg Claghorn. This is my friend Mark Skinner, and my bud Ken Nelson. He's. I keep doing that. I got the camera on the wrong side. We are three Black Pratt Institute graduates from the Fine Art Photography Department. We've amassed years and years of photography experience, and we do this talk fairly regularly, and we just share our thoughts on different photographic topics. From, there's nothing out of bounds. From analog to digital, from historical photography to everything they're doing today with Photoshop and advanced photography today. So today, in honor of Black History Month, I wanted to do a little homage to Black photographers that have influenced us or influenced me. And so I wanted to start off. Did you guys have anything to say? Ken, Mark?
No.
Mark?
Oh, just waiting for you to do your presentation.
My presentation. All right. Well,
Yeah,
one of my favorite
we'll go for it.
photographers who has influenced me since way back years ago. Uh, I took a photography class in Red Hook, Brooklyn, where I grew up, and I believe this was the guy who gave me the Kwame Brathwaite. I'll never forget, Mr. Brathwaite. He's very cool. Walked us through darkroom photography, and I believe this is him. He did. He was very influential in his time, back in the '70s. Yeah, but he was hot, and he did. Go to the next one. Black is Beautiful series, and I'm always curious just to look back and see the influence and just imagine, what it was like to shoot back in the day, and the term black is beautiful. I know it's just kind of a thing folks hear about people saying, but when civil rights movement was going on, and people were just, before all the cosmetic companies actually used black people to sell their cosmetics, black was not beautiful, but it was to us and still is. And thank you, Kwame Brathwaite, for giving me a start with photography. My next favorite photographer from my time at Pratt was this gentleman, Anthony Barboza. Amazing photographer. He did a great studio and some street, a lot of portraiture, and he just captured his use of light was very. Next picture, please. Was very very interesting, and he was good enough to start doing celebrity photography. This is a pre-op Michael Jackson with the fro and and the nose. And next one, and we've had he did Grace Jones, but if you just look at his light, it's just this really really, I won't say unnatural, but it made the subjects look like they were emanating light. And I always loved Anthony Barbosa's light. His daughter actually went to Pratt for a little while. I wanted to date her, but I guess it wasn't in the cards. Anyway, yeah, I think I tried to get an internship with Anthony Barbosa, but I think I had just missed it or something like that, but didn't get it. So next one, please. He
Okay.
does some really interesting work. I know him and Mr. Mapplethorpe had this thing with lighting dark skin that was just amazing. But I loved Anthony Barbosa's work. Okay, next image.
Okay.
This gentleman, all-time favorite. I'm not worthy. James Vanderzee. That's the older one. Okay, kick it to the next one. This is what
Okay.
he looked like back in the day. Well, this is one
Mhm.
of his more famous images back in the Harlem Renaissance. Amazing stuff. It was another time preceding the Black is Beautiful where they didn't need to be told that. They knew they were. They had made Harlem the mecca for jazz and the arts, and the Harlem Renaissance was just I can't even imagine. It must have been an incredible time to be alive, although difficult, but still,
Mhm.
you know, the way he showed black people with dignity, and not beaten down, not former slaves or anything, but prospering. And I love that about James Van Der Zee's work. And it always inspired me to do better street photography and street portraits. And I don't even mind that they're looking at the camera. They just look like they're doing really well, and they're out there, doing what they do. Okay, next image, please. Another image. He does these portraits, but in environments, and that just works for me. Well-dressed black people, doing what they do, sitting on chairs outdoors. And I mean the background may not be opulent, but it is what it is, and it works for me. Okay, go ahead. Next one, please.
Wait a minute, wasn't that Marcus Garvey?
It probably was.
Okay.
Yeah, he did celebrities also. He did another portrait of all the jazz legends on that the stair steps in Harlem. So yeah, Vanderzee he did his thing, and he was sought after. A lot of people came to him for their portraits, and in the time prior to that, the only way you got a real portrait is if you could hire a professional painter. But photography changed the thing, changed the game. Like when before cameras came out that everybody could afford, you didn't get a portrait. Maybe you got a silhouette. But once Brownie came out and everybody could take pictures, changed the game. Everybody, had they were documented. You couldn't say anymore that I didn't exist. That I didn't look good, that I was, lesser than. Look at me. I'm well dressed. Hat, shirt, tie, and tails.
Well,
So
that is the reason why Frederick Douglass was the most photographed American of his time, is because he wanted to use the power of the photograph to do that.
I completely understand. It's one thing to have even if you're the best writer, like a Hemingway or whatever, and you can write a word picture that describes a scene and makes you feel like you're there. There's nothing like a photograph back in the time when it was just straight photography, no Photoshop. This is what it is, and if you saw it in a picture, that's the way you look. So yeah, for sure.
Proposes a very interesting question in the indelible
Go ahead.
nature of photography.
Uh,
Whether the indelible nature of photography exists prior to a certain time for the current year we're in, or are we to assume that images that were, and again, this will get off topic, but I promise, so it's just a short thought process,
oh, no problem.
which is we're looking at an image that is indelibly linked to a period in time in history and has
Right.
a certain level of irreverence to it.
Irreverence or
Yeah,
reverence?
reverence. I apologize. A certain
Okay.
level of adoration.
Okay.
And so the level of adoration it follows the image throughout its time over history, no matter who sees it or how it's being seen by people.
Okay.
Right.
So
I just wanted to say that's one of the reasons why you don't see a tremendous amount of street work from me, is because I tend to photograph in formal settings most of my subjects, and even when they're doing something like a wedding or an athletic event, it's always to save for them, memories of who they are and their best selves.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
So you don't do like the like the engagement photos, like in environments?
Oh, I do that, but an engagement photo is completely about trying to show two people in their best light. They wear clothing that they don't normally go to fast food restaurants in. We pick a location where they may have gone on a special date or something like that, but it's not someplace that uh, unless it's someplace they always go together. There's something special to them. But for the most part, you try to get the best looking background you can for engagement photos. So the mood is
Yeah,
exactly the same.
yeah. But James Van Der Zee had a studio there, and people
He
were
did.
going
He did a lot of
specifically to
studio
go to be
also.
photographed.
Right.
Yeah.
This
So,
looks like
and
it was
I'm
done
thinking,
either in the backyard or the roof.
yeah, and right in this particular instance, but when he opened up a studio, people would go to a studio to be photographed, and of course, I would figure they'd go with their best dress that they could possibly have on.
Yeah, I think I got another. I think I have one more image in that series.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, see, like his studio work was just, beautiful too. Everything was formal and posed and so well lit. I just marvel at his lighting also, especially,
Mm.
back in the day. Of course, everything's probably floodlights or whatever, hot lights, no strobes, and they just worked, and they showed the people, as they are, and they're happy, and I really really enjoy seeing, black folks, looking well, like like we do today, and
This
think
is
that,
this is
huh?
well to do. Wearing a fur coat.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
why not?
Well,
Why
don't
not?
forget he used to photograph a lot of funerals also.
That's
Well, you
that's
do what you follow the money, honey. Come on.
yeah, that's driver's road material, man. You lived on 138th and Adam Clayton Powell, man.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. But
that's
he photographed. As far as photo documentarian, he got all aspects. He got babies. He's got toddlers, adolescents.
mhm.
And it was just amazing to see the human condition. One of my favorite phrases of Harlem in that time period, and he
Yeah,
captured a whole spectrum of black life, African American life at the time, and I really really appreciate his work.
yeah,
It was very inspiring for me.
good. Let's keep moving on.
Yeah, next one. All right, and that's a picture of a younger image of Mr. Bandersnatch. Go ahead, next.
Okay, okay.
All right, my next, as going up the timeline for me, another influence is Mr. Gordon Parks. Oh, yes, amazing guy. Did the FSA, what is it, Food Service
Foreign
Association? Okay.
Security
Farm.
Administration.
Thank you. I knew that. Um, and amazing work he did with a bunch of other, uh, high-powered photographers. But Gordon Parks, a trailblazer. He also directed movies, Shaft and a number of other big name black films. And for his time, he was just avant garde, and just the way he captured images and light was just amazing. Go ahead, next one. And this is him in his elder years. I saw him he did a retrospective at the New York Public Library, 42nd, and met him, shook his hand. I was like, you the man. Gordon Parks. Okay, next image.
I think I was there
Yeah,
for that one.
were you with me? Did we go together?
I think we did.
Okay, cool. All right. Yeah, I loved his street work. He did a lot of work, street photography, and he did a series on some street gangs. And this is one of my favorite. It's a young tough, looking out of a broken window in the tenement, and you know, I just love he could do super sophisticated, but he could get down and dirty and get the grittiest, imagery that New York has to offer. So go ahead, go to the next one. He did a number of images on the streets with when they used to just open up the fire hydrants and let them rip, and that's one of my favorite memories from my childhood in Brooklyn. But that's another story. He did, this kind of an homage to the American Gothic, with this black woman who's uh, a janitorial worker, and with the big American flag in the background. And this one always gripped me because it's like, still kind of what we're going through today with two Americas, and still, climbing the ladder, trying to make life better. And I just love the way he captured images.
Yeah, I always find it amazing about this image is that it's in the public domain because it was shot for the FSA, so it's in the public domain.
Ah,
So anyone who uses it can use it.
really?
Yeah,
Okay. Well,
there are no
I
rights
wouldn't.
to it.
Yeah. Well, all of these are copyright by the originator. So I'm
Yeah,
not saying this is mine. This is a great
right. But in
classic.
this one,
It's
it really is public domain.
public domain.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, because he shot it for the government.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Next, please. And this, of course, when he was a high-powered fashion photographer. This image, these type of images, I'm amazed to see so many fashion photographers today using this same setup, the New York City street canyon, Manhattan's canyon of building and the, well-dressed person standing in the middle of the street, and I'm like, that ain't new. Gordon Parks used to do that back in the day. So
Well, it's
he
weird.
was,
He used to do these spreads for Vogue, and I was amazed that he had never gotten to do a cover. I just
well,
presumed at that time he had gotten to do a cover because he had done so many other magazines like Look and Life.
uh,
Yeah.
he never had a cover. Didn't he
He
have a
never he
Life
never
cover
never did a well. He never did a cover for Vogue,
for
and
Vogue?
I know Diana Vreeland had made sure that he did fashion spreads for the inside of the magazine. But I was very surprised to hear later on when I started taking photographs that he had never done a not even that when I took photos. I found out a couple of years ago when who was it?
I don't know.
Is it Tyler Mitchell? Who is
That
the
young kid.
first black photographer to photograph for Vogue? That's when I found out that that no African American had ever photographed a cover of Vogue before. I just presumed that he and I think there's another photographer. Oh, you'd mentioned Barboza. I had figured that Barboza and even one of the people I'm going to talk about today had done one at some point. And I just hadn't heard of it. I was shocked.
Yeah.
And I really assumed.
Well, they were still, real, just like today. There's still real, racial barriers, and despite what the former head of the Department of Justice said, there is institutional racism, and it making strides, but we got to work on, knocking down more walls, breaking glass ceilings, and stuff like that. But he's a pioneer, and he's one of the greatest photographers in my book. Okay, next one. Moving right
That's
along.
it for you, Greg. That's the
That's
last
it.
one you got. Yeah,
Was it
that's
Gordon Parks
16.
my
Yeah,
last?
that's your
Well,
last
there it
presentation.
is.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, that wasn't long. That wasn't so painful.
No, but I must admit though,
What?
if I can go back in time to do any photograph, I would go back in time at that time to photograph fashion, because it was just.
Mm.
I mean, when you look at this image, you say that was the golden age of fashion photography.
Why do you
I
say
don't
that?
know. You cannot. I mean, I think people are coming close to doing something similar to this when I'm seeing
Uh,
things, but there's
yeah.
something about the way this is approached on the street, and not only this image, all the other images that he shot on the street,
Uh,
and even to some other in his even some of his colleagues of the same time who photographed
yeah.
on the street, the look was almost the same because it was a Vogue look.
Well, it's
Yeah.
like the post-war opulence,
Yeah,
Okay.
that's really what it is. It was just they created, and I think most of what we're talking about is what they would do with Harper's Bazaar and Vogue. They created this incredible world that was just completely all about Park Avenue. You
yeah,
know,
Oh,
yeah. Base, yeah, 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 yeah.
this I don't know if this is Madison or Park or whatever. It looks
it
like
looks like Park.
no, Park is
Oh
too
no,
lit.
no,
This looks
yeah,
like
that's right.
Madison. Hmm?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Park would be a little
Or Fifth
wider.
Avenue. It looks like either Madison or Fifth. I can't tell.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yep. So who's got second? Mark.
Me?
Who's on
Yeah,
first?
yeah,
What's on
let's take.
second?
Sure, you can.
Okay, I'll go next. So my photographer of note, of course, created this particular image, uh, famous very image of Dr. King's uh, um,
Wife?
funeral.
Oh,
Coretta Scott King and their daughter at the funeral of her husband, and it won the Pulitzer Prize, the first black photographer to ever achieve that status. Monita
wow.
Sleet Jr.
Sweet.
So these are some of the images that he shot during the civil rights era. You know, the Montgomery boy. I think this is Montgomery. Okay, the walk.
Oh yeah, the Edmund Pettus Bridge.
hmm So and
Alabama.
yeah, and so I think I could sworn Monita Sleet's pictures were here, but and as you see,
Was that Malcolm?
that was Haley Selassie.
Oh, so that's,
hmm
no, no, not that one. The one before that. There was no. Keep going. That's JFK, isn't it? Yeah, that one. Is that Malcolm? No.
No, that's Dr. King with actually Monita Sleet.
Oh, okay, cool.
And his son. I think that's his son. Yeah.
Okay.
And what was interesting about Monita Slee Jr. is how I came to know him. I knew of Monita. He was the first black photographer I ever knew who had any stature prior
Personally?
to even, yeah, in my early days,
And that's before Parks, isn't it?
Even before I knew Gordon Parks. Because for me, when I first heard the name of Gordon Parks, it was as a movie director, it wasn't
Mm.
as a photographer, right? So he's jacked, right? And during that time, when I was watching the old TV shows on Channel 7, where every Sunday they would present 30-minute excerpts on somebody in the photography field. And in one of those days, it was
What?
called The World of Photography. It was shown on ABC TV, and it was a 30-minute segment on the world of photography. And each week they would present a photographer
What?
in that. And
What day was this on? I don't
one
remember.
one of the weeks was Monita Sleet Jr. And I was just amazed and transfixed. That whole 30-minute episode was
That's what
just
I
amazing.
had never heard of that program. You've mentioned it to us before, and
Yeah,
I've
yeah, yeah. So if you people who are out there, it's sort of been revived in sort of segmented ways. So if you were to go to YouTube and type in the world of photography, you would see a subscribe button for the world of photography, and it goes from Annie Leibovitz, and I mean in their early days, and so this was in the mid to late 70s, and so it spoke to Galen Rowell and a lot of others who were shooting at that time, and it's really, yeah, it's almost like going, if you've ever opened up Popular Photography magazine, it's like going back and reading an issue of Popular Photography magazine. So that's the
Oh,
way it feels. But anyway,
pop photo.
that's how I came to know and admire and sort of uh, hold Monita Sleet Jr. to the level of uh, an amazing photographer that I've always wanted to emulate. And to some degree, I think I do, even in my current work.
Oh,
So that's who
in
I am.
what way?
Huh?
What influenced you? What about his work influenced you?
I mean, when you look, I mean, look at his photo. I didn't photograph like this. I had a, what was it? I was photographing with a Nikon, maybe a Ricoh TLS-4 135 millimeter. I didn't know how to handle that daggone thing, right? I was
Uh,
seeing someone who was older, an elder black person with a camera with stature. And not only that, he photographed for Ebony. He photographed for Jet. Okay? He was their
okay.
staff photographer. Okay, so when you open up that magazine, unless you look for the photo credit, which we didn't do, his name would have
You
been
were
in there.
looking at his work.
You were looking at his work.
Okay.
So, you were influenced directly or indirectly by what you were seeing in Ebony and Jet.
Right.
You know? Yeah.
Wow.
So
Okay.
if you ever picked up an issue of Ebony and Jet, you've been influenced by Bonita Sleet Jr.
Mm. Yeah, I've always loved photojournalistic work, and I love how he captures, moments like this one. This is a moment of definite, definitive family moment.
Yeah, but he also
You
did
know,
this, and so he was, yeah, dude was, yeah, fantastic.
Sammy D. Yeah.
Sammy D, Miles,
Wow.
okay?
I love
That's
theatrical
him right
writing.
there. That's the man,
Yeah.
Mr.
The
Sleet.
myth,
Thank you
the
very much.
legend. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thanks, Ken.
Yeah, you got it. That leaves you, Mark. You next up.
okay.
Okay, we got you here.
Wait. Before we go to the next one, I guess we could. Yeah. All right. No, I
Well,
just kind of wanted.
okay, go ahead. I was surprised Ken didn't talk about like Manita Sleet's like education and all that because well you've been
Well,
mentioning him
put
for a
put
while.
put
You
our
said you were
pictures up. Let's talk to each other for a
okay.
second.
Yeah.
Say again.
Put our pictures up. Let's talk to each other for a second. I think we got like
Okay.
5 minutes.
Ooh.
Now, what about
Oh,
where are we?
Good.
Yeah, there we are.
There you go.
Now, what about Monita Sleet's
I'm,
education?
I'm
yeah.
surprised that you didn't go through his education and his life story.
I can read the whole thing to
Well,
you, but
yeah.
what I can do is I can link to this particular
Okay.
website below when
Right.
I post it to YouTube, so you
Okay.
get more information
Yeah.
about Monita Sleet Jr.'s education.
Okay.
because he was a college-educated person as well. So,
Yeah,
In photography?
he was something.
for photojournalism.
Get at it. See, okay,
Yeah,
all right.
you know. But all right, you can go on to mine if you want.
Okay. Okay. We got you there?
Yeah, here we go. All right. Now, what I did was I just did some screen captures of the web pages of two photographers. The first one being Eli Reed. Now, Eli Reed was a Magnum photographer for a little bit over 30 years, and
Wait, let Ken fix the
Yeah, let me
page.
fix it.
sure.
Okay, there you go.
Okay.
And so, as you
Eli Reed was a Magnum photographer.
yes, sir. As you can see from the few photos that are on his landing page, his Magnum landing page, he's been around for a while, but he also is he's teaching now in Texas, from what I can see, from what I've read, and he's gone all over the world, right? And he hasn't been just pretty much the idea of a black photographer. I mean, most of the people that we've talked about have pretty much either represented black people uh, as being the black photographer, or have been the photographer of record for the black experience almost exclusively. And it's interesting to see that when you get a little bit later, like towards the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s, the fact that the subject is black and the fact that the photographer is black starts to become a little bit uh, more of a happenstance rather than, this is the black person who's going to do the black work.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I'm sure this gentleman has, I haven't spoken to him, but I'm sure he has a great sense of what his African American identity is. And I don't want to even, presume anything, but I want to say that in terms of the work, he does quality work. He becomes a Magnum photographer. He does for 30 years, not just black work, but anywhere they send him all around the world. And that's his landing page. You can go look at some of the other stuff.
Okay.
The next
For those who may not know, what is
I'm sorry.
Magnum?
Magnum is a photo agency. It's one of the oldest photo agencies where photographers would get together so that they could negotiate for rights for their work. And they had an agency they could share resources so that when they were dealing with the magazines at the time and the newspapers, they weren't tripping all over one another. They could work in cooperation with one another. And it's quite an honor if you're a photojournalist to become a Magnum photographer. That's a really big deal. And
Even today, huh?
even today, well, maybe not so much today because we don't have magazines in the same way. Magazines and newspapers don't really hold that same place in
Sway.
society. And yeah, it's if everyone's got a camera in their pocket, there's a certain level of exclusivity and technical proficiency that was required to get these wonderful photographs that doesn't exist in that same way. So
Right.
it's more about being a specific person in a specific place. Sometimes places a little more exotic than it used to be. I think I'm presuming people are probably the real photographers are probably doing more editorial work than news, because anyone who's sort of at this crime scene taking a photograph can get the news. It's just a presumption. But
Right.
not only has this gentleman been a Magnum photographer, but he's also been a still photographer on movie sets, including for directors like Ron Howard and John Singleton and a bunch of others. If you look at his Wikipedia page, you'll say he's a very accomplished individual, and my utmost respect. It's just all around really good photographer. And I just wanted to mention because he's still among us and working. And I know a lot of times when we talk about photographers that we admire, they have a tendency, I know for me, they have a tendency to be no longer with us. So I just wanted to give respect to somebody who's like here, even though it's not the playground.
Yeah.
In the land of the living.
Yeah. And then you can go to the next one. because this gentleman's probably lesser known outside.
That's Oprah.
Yes,
That's no gentleman.
that's Matthew Jordan Smith's landing page.
Ah,
And he is a currently working commercial photographer of great renown. I was fortunate enough to meet him once at one of the photo expos, and this prior to uh, uh, Tyler getting the Vogue cover. And at the time, he was probably the most, uh, you know, successful commercial photographer who happened to be black that I had heard of. Because, well, I had just presumed he had done a Vogue cover already because he worked for Revlon and he worked with all these other top models. And you'll see on the next slide that one of the top models he worked with quite a bit is Tyra
oh,
Banks.
Tyra.
Now, this
Mm.
particular image, I think is one of the most iconic images of Tyra Banks. I mean, it's undeniably her. It says who she is. It says what she does, and they from uh, videos that I've seen, he talked about how they worked together to get this iconic photo, and I think it's just one of the great photos. And when I see a lot of profiles of great iconic photos, sometimes of stars, of actresses or models, I'm always amazed that this particular image isn't included in that suite of incredibly iconic images because uh, this woman who's living now, I mean, she's doing a game show right now with Dancing with Stars, but I mean, she created an entire top model. She brought fashion, runway fashion to the masses. Uh,
She's also a good photographer herself, but
I
that's
I
another
believe
story.
you, but I believe
Okay.
you, but just in a really, you know, he's done great work and she's done great work, and of course Oprah, everybody knows Oprah, and I just thought that's really interesting that he pays respect to these extraordinarily accomplished African American women by having them on their pages. That's not all he has. He's done a book for kids. He's a Nikon ambassador, a Nikon ambassador currently. And so he just does a lot of great stuff. And I remember I had a chance to meet him, and I know for me, his success is probably the coolest thing I had seen as a black photographer because I'd never seen anyone who was a black photographer who was successful, who was an ambassador for a camera company and a working pro, and all of the things that I had aspired to be. So I thought it was really great. And that's really it. I just wanted to, as the Digital Underground used to say, give heartbeat props to these two gentlemen. That's it.
Digital Underground. Much love. Okay. All right. So, couple of questions, fellas, for this Black History Month homage. Have you guys faced, for those young photographers upcoming that might be, tuning in, have you faced any challenges as a black photographer that you want to share with the voting public?
Yeah, sure. I think, at a certain point, there's sort of a, once you see someone like a Gordon Parks and a Manita Sleet or Anthony Barboza, if you're a little bit younger, maybe 10, 15 years younger, you go, oh, I can do that. And I think one of the things that happens is, and this is pre-digital, you start thinking, oh, I can do this. And then what you don't realize then is that in many instances, that individual has been groundbreaking. And in groundbreaking, sometimes there isn't a lot of room for others to really follow the same kind of path. You kind of have to break your own ground. I did a lot of work for black magazines, small black magazines, when I first started. And I worked with a black modeling agency and photographed a lot of models. But I found myself sort of trapped there. And, if you, in the 80s, if you showed fashion models that were African American, uh, non African American editors often would say things like, maybe you should go to Essence. And, you know, If you went to Essence, Essence already had prominence, I think, by the late 80s, early 90s. So they weren't necessarily looking to sort of groom anyone. They were trying to get the best images they could buy to pretty much increase, their market share and what they were doing. So, you're kind of in a tight spot. So, I found myself doing a lot of odd things, and then being a support person for a couple of years. Darkroom assisting, and then then you do other things. What I have found in the 20th century is that with digital, 21st century, I should say, is that with digital, there is, and I told you guys this before, there are far more opportunities, but the opportunities aren't as prestigious usually, and they're not as economically rewarding. So what happens is you'll have a lot of opportunities that are, you can, if you're young, you can kind of get your foot in and start, but I can't really tell anybody at this point how to really rise through the ranks. It seems like there are so many people, you kind of just got to do your own thing. And it's a time now where being a black photographer is a good thing. I mean, people are looking for talented young people. So.
Okay. So your outlook is better now
Well,
than.
it's better now. I think if you're an established pro, you might have a difficult time getting the rates you used to get, but I
Mm,
think they'll respect that. And if you're brand new, I think that those individuals will have more opportunities because non-black owned industries and companies are probably looking for new talent
okay.
to kind of to help
And
cultivate.
you and you're gonna pay your dues. You're not gonna get top dollar right away. You got to pay your dues, just like
Right,
everybody
right.
else.
Right, right.
Yeah.
It's probably very much more tough for folks in the middle.
Okay.
That's all.
Do you got anything, Ken? Anything you want to share?
My only thoughts about this would be that you probably want to be the squeakiest wheel you can be.
In what way?
Scream loud from the rooftops that you're there. Be out loud and be out proud in terms of being a photographer.
Okay.
Um, don't because I mean you have to be the best extrovert you can be,
Hmm.
and the more extroverted you are, the bigger the possibilities to do things are. I would say,
Okay. Okay.
you know.
Oh, I got. Oh, I raised my hand. Why did I raise my hand? No. Well, all I wanted to say was, is my hand showing in the screen? I can put
Yes,
that
it
down. What the heck is going on there?
is.
That's not what I wanted to do. Wait, where is that? I don't even know where that. Okay, it'll go away. Lower hand. There you go. Okay. What I wanted to say before I most rudely raised my hand was, well, yeah, keep trying. Because you don't realize, like in a lot of things, you don't realize how close you are until you keep pushing. And you get to your first door open is a good thing, but keep pushing. And keep shooting, and to tag on to what Kenny said, work on your social skills. Everything you learned in high school. There's bullies out there. There's the in people. There's this clique and that. Work on your social skills. Identify the situation you're in, and know when your personality is more important than your portfolio. There are times like that. Get loud, get proud. Be your own. PR person. Be a good public relations for yourself. Sell. You learn how to sell. If you can sell. Somebody said if you can sell something, you can sell anything. I forget about how the phrase goes, but I'll never forget. I had when I was at Pratt, I took an internship at Essence, and oh my God, the clicky. I was a good designer. I was a good photographer, but they had people in position, and they all would say, "Hey, that's supposed to be what I'm doing this week." So work your way in, but once you get in, learn how to play office politics. I can't emphasize enough how important it is to develop your social skills. Be good at what you do, but kind of develop the other side too. And biggest one, just keep shooting. Keep shooting, keep doing what you're doing. Black Lives Matter. All right, so that's about all I got for this episode with Black History Month. And oh, look what I
Oh,
found.
wait. See,
What?
we
Wait,
did.
look what I found. Can you see that?
Holy mackerel!
Yeah, that's see, so you can't say
That's
that
good.
anymore, Brad. Isn't that crazy?
I got my alumni card. I don't have that one. That's good.
Yeah,
This
that's his
is
most
original.
famous beret that he always wore at
Oh
school.
yeah,
You
I
and that
love my
beret.
He
beret.
must have been a guardian angel.
A black guardian. That was my panther look.
You look like the happiest panther I've ever seen.
Yeah, well, I was in art school. Come on. All right. Well, that's all I got. You guys got anything? Black History Month? Any final parting words?
No, I was going to say right now is a really fantastic time to be an African American in terms of creativity and art. I mean, I really, really remember, a lot of those Manita Sleep photographs, but I didn't know. Like my parents never said, "Hey, look, you got to look at this guy's photos," because I think by the time I went to art school, we weren't subscribing to Ebony as much anymore, or. But it's It's interesting to see in hindsight the fact that this guy, because he was really educated. The reason why I mention it, Ken, is like, I mean, not only he had a graduate degree too, and he's the first African American to win a Pulitzer Prize for that photograph.
Yeah.
I mean, but and he almost didn't get it because there wasn't anyone from the black press, because there was a
Right.
time it was called the black press.
Right.
Go there, and
Yeah.
Vanderzee was in Harlem, right? And Gordon Parks was probably the most integrated of all of the photographers we presented in the past, not now, but in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And he really got his big break because of Roy Stryker and the Farm Security Administration, and then after that, Life magazine, and then after that, Vogue. So he really, had this stellar career that was just incredible by anyone's standards. But after him, some doors really didn't open again, really, for a long time.
No. Well, that's what that's the best advice I could do or say or share. Keep shooting and keep pushing. That's it. All right. We're going to wrap this up, fellas. That's Mark Skinner, my bud Mark Skinner. And I was going to say the guy with the glasses, but they're both wearing glasses. In the red shirt, Mark Skinner. And on the other side, Ken in the black shirt. And thanks for joining us. If you got questions, leave us a comment. Please subscribe, ring the bell so you can get the notification when the next episode is put on. And take care.
Okay. Yep. And I'll be providing links to the website for Manita Sleet as well, and some of the others. All right.
Cool. Jesus. Turn 2.